Welcome to the Backyard Bounty Podcast from heritageacresmarket.com, where we talk about all things backyard poultry, beekeeping, gardening, sustainable living, and more. And now, here's your host, Nicole.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Backyard Bounty. I'm your host, Nicole, and today we're joined by Jessica with First Saturday Lime, and she's here to kind of help us learn how to keep some smells down around our farm and keep things clean. And Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
So you are with First Saturday Lime, and it's something that I just recently learned about, and I use very heavily around my little poultry farm. Can you tell us a little bit more about the company?
Yeah. Well, my family, we're farmers out of Oklahoma, and we've had lime in the family as a business for probably 3 generations now. Originally, we used it as a soil amendment for our farms, and then we also got into selling it to other farmers. There is a whole bunch of different kind of lime. So my dad, who was very into science and chemicals and all that, he was the one that had this idea for this certain type of lime. I think a lot of people with hobby farms, they have usually heard of barn lime or hydrated lime. Hydrated lime is very strong and it can be used as a pest control, but it reacts with water. So if you touch it, it's going to react with the moisture in your skin and cause burns. So it's not recommended to be used around kids or adults or pets and whatnot. And then the other type of lime, barn lime, that is very safe. It's just pretty much mined and milled limestone. So it's organic. It's very, very dull because it's full of impurities. And you really couldn't use barn lime as a pest control because it is just so weak, but you have the opportunity to use it around your animals for odor control and moisture control, and they are able to touch it without it having a chemical reaction. So First Saturday Lime, we took hydrated lime and we made it insoluble. So it doesn't have that reaction with moisture. So it's just as strong as hydrated lime in repelling insects and controlling bacteria, but it's going to be just as safe as barn lime in the fact that your animals can touch it, kids can play with it. It's completely safe.
And is this something that you guys source in the U.S.?
Yeah, we do all of our mining out of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas.
So why do you call it First Saturday Lime? And the question I've always wanted to ask you is why the frog?
Yes, we get that a lot. Now, keep in mind, whenever we started this company, it was just me and my sister. My dad had passed and she had inherited the lime farm. And we kind of knew this would be a really great alternative. We had to make a manufacturing process to make it work even better. But we didn't have a background in marketing or retail or anything. So it's best as a once a month application for pest control. So we wanted something in the name to kind of remind people to reapply every month. So First Saturday is what Jana thought of. And we just put lime because that's pretty much what it is at the end of it. So on the first Saturday, we do shout outs and promotions and giveaways just to remind people, hey, it's that time of the month to go ahead and reapply so that people are constantly using it as a preventative compared to using it as a treatment. And the frog, we wanted a mascot, and frogs eat bugs and they're really good for their environment. But in all honesty, a frog is kind of like a family little icon. And he was just so cute whenever we had our marketing team make him. We're like, oh, that's him. Like, that's Ricardo. We're going to get him.
Oh, Ricardo the frog.
Yes. So I don't know. It just stuck. And we get that question a lot, but I feel like people remember the product easily because of him. We do have some people that will put in a testimony on like Amazon and they're like, oh, this did nothing to repel the frogs. We're like, yeah, sorry, we don't repel frogs, we repel insects. But I get how that could be confusing. We actually like frogs.
So I actually found out about First Saturday Lime from the good old internet and doing some research because we recently added ducks to our farm. And a little fun fact about ducks is they're disgusting and they make a mess and they smell terribly. And it was getting to the point that the smell, we tried different things, putting down rocks and making it so that it wouldn't be so wet. And we moved them to a different location with a slope so they would dry out, and just nothing worked. And it got to the point that I couldn't control the smell and I was going to have to get rid of them just because we live in a somewhat suburban area and I really didn't want to do that. So I was trying to figure out how to control the smell in their pen. I came across your lime and I figured, well, it's not very expensive, so I'll give it a try and see what happens. And I was absolutely amazed that it did such a great job. And, we are on the poultry side of things, but I know that you can use it in other applications. And we've also used it heavily in the garden, like you said, to repel insects and to give a little calcium boost to our plants. And we use it with our chickens too. But to kind of circle around, I guess, it really has a ton of different uses. So I know that you guys have your cute little silkies that I always see on your Instagram page. What are some of the different ways that we could use it for? Let's start with our chickens.
So chickens is we really made this for just the common household to use or be a solution for a pest control. But because of all the different uses, it is so great with any kind of poultry animal. Not only because chickens, they're more prone to getting infestations of mites, lice, ants. First Saturday Lime is so effective on those smaller insects, especially drying out the larvae that could be lurking in chickens or in their bedding. So whenever people use it, they have they get to see it work for either an infestation or just a prevention of an infestation of an unwanted pest. And also, like you said, the deodorizing, because it is so strong compared to barn lime, it's like whenever you're working with preventative products, it's kind of hard to sell it because you don't have a before and after. People want to see results.
Right.
So that's one thing that's really been helpful for us, get amazing testimony and the word of mouth, because if you put it in with whatever animal you're working with and it's within 30 minutes you can tell a difference in the smell. That's because it's controlling the moisture, and usually when you have a lot of moisture, that's a great environment for bacteria, for mold, and then those things are the ones that are causing all of the odor. So we're drying up basically the moisture that is holding all of that bacteria and mold and whatnot. And then also, if the chicken eats it, it's very, very similar to calcium carbonate. So it's just going to be a calcium source for them. It's very close to Tums. So they can touch it. If they bathe in it, put it in your dust bath, it's going to be able to dry out the larvae that could be in their feathers, plus treat the insects that are on them. And then also you can apply it to their water, and it will pretty much control, just like a soil amendment for farming. You have to get the right pH levels. Well, if you add it to water, that just like a pool, you would regulate the pH levels and you wouldn't have algae. It's a really good algae control as well. It is water insoluble, so you will have to clean out the pan or water trough eventually, but it does keep your water cleaner for longer.
I started with the lime for the ducks, and then I started looking online and found all these different sources. So I think I use them in all the ways that you mentioned. I sprinkle it in the bottom of the coop, which is dirt. I make sure I put it in their little dust piles that they use, and add it to their water and to their nest boxes. And I even whitewashed the inside of the nest boxes and the perches and most of the surface area that I could access when I did the last big clean that I did.
Mm-hmm. And how is that whitewashing?
I found the instructions or the ingredients to do it on your website, and I had to make sure I picked up some salt, but it really worked well. The other perch that I did is outside in the elements, so I think the rain washed some of it off, but inside the coop where it's protected, it's been really holding up. And I love it in the nest boxes because nest boxes can get dirty sometimes, and I feel like that's a place that a lot of the pests hide, and I feel like that really helped kind of make that a cleaner environment.
Yeah, having a place that's like damp is definitely a go-to for insects. But I have to say, with the whitewash, it is like, I think it's really pretty when you do it. I do it just for like crafts and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you have to mix. We have a lot of people that are doing the whitewashing right now, but it's not like a mix and then you like paint. Like you have to keep mixing while you're painting because it does settle to the bottom. But I
got one of those paint mixers and put it on the drill, and I just kept swirling it around in the 5-gallon bucket when I was after putting it on.
Oh, I need one of those. Yeah. So it's kind of an arm workout if you're doing a bigger coop or a horse stall or whatnot. But everyone's like, I don't know if it's coming. I'm like, yeah, it's at the bottom. You have to keep stirring while you're painting.
Yeah. And I was a little surprised when I first put it on because it was kind of like this tan color. And I was like, well, but I want to whitewash it, not tan wash it. But once it dried.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I thought the same thing when we were doing tests on it. I was like, oh, it's so like, I don't know, just tan. And then it really does lighten up.
Yeah. And like you said, it's pretty too. I enjoy the way it looks. And I know I emailed you guys when I first got the lime, and I was so excited that you sent me a reply so quickly, but I was really worried about it being safe to touch. And I mean, you already covered this, but especially when I was out there mixing it with water, I wasn't sure about it at first. And it's nice that it works so well and it's so safe. It's just surprising to me.
Yeah. Our number one focus is safety. So we have done all of the testing to make sure that we're safe. A lot of our distributors, just for them to hold the product, you have to do a lot of testing. Safety is our number one focus, and we can, pretty much guarantee that. I really worry sometimes because when people see, lime, okay, I'm just going to go get some hydrated lime, because I think that's like significantly cheaper, like at your local, retail store. But like, this is not hydrated lime. So I don't want people to get confused. This lime has never been on shelves before. We have a patent pending product. So you're not going to find it within a barn lime or a safe hydrated lime. So we try to make the best of both worlds of the lime, but don't try to use hydrated lime as one of our uses because it's just very, very risky.
Yeah. Yeah. It would definitely hurt both you and your animals if you were to use the other kind. So with the ducks, like I mentioned, was kind of the big thing for me, but I know that you can use it for both their water to kind of help keep it clean and keep the algae down, and then also reducing smell. What's the best way to use it in the duck pond?
In the duck pond, it depends on your water level because they splash so much. Um, if you have let's say like a kiddie pool and it's fairly low, you would want to still, even though majority of that water is probably going to get splashed out, you want to go ahead and treat that pond anyway, just because any leftover moisture is always a habitat for bacteria. And especially if it's getting splashed out, that's like a really great habitat for like mold. So if it is going to get splashed out, make sure that you're treating that water. So whenever it's out, it can have some kind of protection against whatever environment it's in. So you'd want to treat that. And then also with ducks, because they are so messy, especially around their little water pond, you want to treat that area. And keep in mind, First Sour Lime is so safe. You cannot use too much of it. An animal can live like on top of a pile of it. It's completely safe. You want to treat that area really well whenever it's coming in contact with the moisture, so you have enough to be able to control and then also neutralize any bacteria that's already growing. But that would be it for smells. It's just make sure that you're treating your water, and then a really heavy application around the areas where water could come in contact.
And when I was looking online on how to use it for the ducks, if I read it correctly, you mentioned that you don't just sprinkle the dry lime on the ground. You actually need to water it in. Is that correct?
No, it wouldn't have any effect with the ground.
Okay.
Maybe for a soil amendment, you would water it in.
Oh, okay.
Well, this isn't a really high use, but we have people that use like poultry in a spot, and then they use the fertilizer, like they're fertilizing the ground, and then they use our lime to like neutralize any excess nitrates. And then if you're using that soil to do a garden, then that's when you water it in. But that's kind of high intense farming sometimes, so I try not to go too much into that.
Sure. That must have just been something that I misread. So we want to leave it dry and then
it's most effective
that way.
Yes, it's most effective when it's dry.
Okay. And what are some good ways then to use it in the garden? I've just sprinkled it around my tomatoes because they were getting the blossom end rot, which can be due to a lack of calcium. And then squash bugs. Oh, I hate squash bugs. But is there some other uses for the garden and the soil?
Yes. We try to keep away from being a soil amendment because it's so confusing compared to other lime products. We always suggest to pour a 2-inch width barrier around your garden, so you're creating a protected space from insects that are crawling. And then you can sprinkle on top of any plant, like stem or leaves. We say to leave out the buds and the petals, so we're not affecting any like butterflies or bees. And after you sprinkle it, you would want to wait a day and then give a good watering, because it is a strong desiccant. So depending on your weather, you would want to make sure that that plant is getting treated, but also at the end of the treatment, you want it to be replenished with water.
Okay, that's a good advice. I hadn't used it in any other ways than what I mentioned before. So basically, you could potentially dry the plant out if you left it on too long.
Yeah, it depends on the plant, but a lot of our testing, usually plants, depending on which ones, were okay because they're getting that water source through their roots. But then we also tested on plants that were like cut, and all the plants that were cut, like they just dried up like so much quicker because they don't have that root system. I mean, most of the time in your garden, you're going to have a root system, but we always say it is a desiccant. So you want to give it time to do the treatment, but then you also want to water within a day. It could go 2 to 3 days, but you want to make sure that you're having your plant hydrated as well.
Okay. And another way that I use it that has been really helpful too is we have a couple outdoor cats, and they have actually one of our old chicken coops. We lock them up there at night just to keep them safe from predators, and then we let them out during the day. And they have gotten into my flower gardens and used it as a litter box.
Yes.
And I also learned after getting the lime for the ducks that it works to help neutralize some of the cat urine so I could reuse that area. So I was really excited about that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like a lot of the going back to just lime in general, different kinds, but farmers use it for a soil amendment because if you have like cattle or whatnot and they get too much of the pneumonia from urine, then you're not going to have good soil. So you mix it with lime and it will neutralize the pH levels for successful growth. So same thing with like your yard. I foster way too many dogs, and dogs, they have the habit of like just going in one spot. So you get like those yellow patches in your yard. So I treat my yard with it to keep the yellow patches away. And then also the smell as well. I have one dog that like, he's so lazy. He won't like walk to the grass. He just like pees on the cement. So I have like an area that smells because of this lazy dog. So I have to treat that as well for smell.
I didn't know about that. And we have a yellow spot in our lawn. So I guess we'll have to use it there.
Yes.
And then it's great because it's safe for cats. And, cats are so sensitive to stuff. So in our little chicken coop thing that we have for them, I can just go and sprinkle it around because sometimes they will go in the dirt there. So I'll clean out the dirt and then I can sprinkle the lime and you would never even know that there were cats in there. It's great.
Yes, it is. Yeah, when we first started, we had like a lime farm, so it was all outside. And then we needed a barn to do like the packaging process for it. And my dad, after he passed, we had this like little barn that we like never went into. And it was just like full of just stuff. We were going to use it to start like, packaging up our bags and filling there and everything. And there was like some random cat there that had been living there for a while. And it was like really nice. And we named it Tammy. But it was like going to the bathroom in like random spots. And we were just about to bring our lime up. So we were like, okay, we have to find a home for this cat. And I work as a foster dog mom. So I used the foundation that I work with and I found her a home. And then a month later, they told me that the cat had kittens. I was like, I swear, I had no idea. But they were really nice about it, and they found the kittens home and got her fixed after. So it turned out to be a good story, but I felt bad. I was like, I promise, I did not know that she was pregnant.
Right. Oh my gosh, you never know.
Yeah.
So are there other ways that you recommend using lime around? I don't have other livestock like horses or goats or anything, but I'm sure that there's probably other ways to use it that I'm not aware of.
Yeah. So right now in the fall season, it's so important for everyone to keep up with their regimen of pest control because like we're preparing for winter, so is the bugs. A lot of them, go underground, go in trees, whatnot. But there are going to be bugs that are persistent on taking shelter in your home. So you would want to treat your home. And like these months are the months that are really dire for a treatment before winter. And that is going to be pouring the 2-inch perimeter around the base of your home on the outside. And, that's going to keep away any common household insect that you see. A really big one in the fall that's still active is like fleas. Fleas are really active in fall for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but there's a really high increase with flea problems. So we treat the home, and then we also use the yard spreader, and we put a light layer of Versari lime in the yard to treat for any fleas.
Okay, that's a good idea. We don't have fleas here, really, not too much. So I wouldn't have thought of that.
You don't have fleas? You're so blessed.
Not to the extreme of you guys down south.
Yes. I met someone else the other day. That's so funny that you said that, because I met someone the other day. They're like, what about the fall uses? And I was telling them about the fleas, and they're like, oh, we don't have fleas. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is this world where you don't have fleas? Like, why am I not there?
Right. Well, you probably do too, but we have, rattlesnakes and scorpions and tarantulas and those things.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a balance to everything.
And the miller moths, they're terrible here, and they actually leave their larvae in the soil, so as little grubs. So I'm thinking maybe I could help.
Yeah,
use the lime for those, but
definitely, yeah, it's really good for larvae control too. A common insect that we did not know that we would be so effective on, and we didn't even put any test on it because we're like, oh, that would be hard, so let's not do that, is the fly. Because a lot of our horse owners and goat owners, they said that the flies are crazy, oh my gosh, and using your product, they have gone down so much. And in the beginning, we're like, what? How do you sprinkle on the flies?
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird. But then we found out that it was, a lot of the manure flies go to, and then they lay eggs, they eat, whatnot. So we're really cutting off their reproduction cycle at the source. So that's why people are seeing a decrease in flies. We still haven't paid for a third party on flies, because we just didn't think that would be a result. But it's been crazy how so many people see an effect on flies in their barns from using the product.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. So is it predominantly best to use on soft body insects, the maggots and things, or can it work on the hard bodied insects, ones with, an exoskeleton?
Yes, I mean both, exoskeleton and soft. I feel like the smaller the insect, the better. It works by, it's a repellent more compared to a desiccant. If the insect is small, then it has an increased chance of dying. But we're really creating an atmosphere where they can't lay eggs, they can't survive in, more than just sprinkling it on a bug and it dying. So really it's based on the insect size compared to which body it is.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And their larvae, if it's a egg or if it needs moisture or whatnot.
So I have signed up for your subscription service. So the first Saturday of every month, or just a little bit before, I receive a package of, I believe it's a 20-pound bag of lime, and it's actually super affordable. But I know that you sell it as just a one-time purchase as well. But if somebody wants to try it out and see how it works for their garden and for their chickens, how would they go about finding First Saturday Lime?
Well, they can find us on Amazon. And then also we have a store locator on our website. So if you want to go to your local retail store, we're nationwide now, and we're still working on getting into more and more stores. So you can go on there and see which stores that we are currently in, or you can always purchase. We have a 20-pound bag or a 5-pound bag on our website, which is www.firstsaturdaylime.com. And subscriptions are always the best, price point. That's the lowest that we can give our customers. And we have so much fun with it because you get a free gift, and, we do little spiels and themes and whatnot. So it's really fun. And we try to keep it just, as simple as possible. So you can, if you want to do a one-time month subscription, you can do that. You can inactivate or activate your subscription at any time.
Oh, okay. I know that I've enjoyed the little gifts. This last one was the little bulbs that you guys sent
Yeah.
out, and that was super exciting.
Yeah. And that's also a natural pest control, those little flowers. So we try to make it where it's natural or, kind of like outdoor themed. So we have a lot of fun with it. We have like meetings on just like ideas to what to get you guys.
Well, you make great choices. And I've been thinking about adding a second 20-pound subscription just because I think I use it every day around the farm. If it wasn't for you guys, I would have not been able to keep my ducks, and it's made my chickens healthier. And I was so excited to find your product. Thank you for doing what you do and keeping our farms smelling good and pest free.
Thank you. This is why we went from farming to retail, is just to be a solution for people. So we love hearing feedback and comments like that. So thank you.
Of course. Well, Jessica, thank you so much. I really enjoy you taking the time to share with us the different uses and how to help, make everything more pest-free and healthy around our farm. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
And for those of you at home, thank you so much for listening to Backyard Bounty, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to Backyard Bounty, a podcast by heritageacresmarket.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, please email us at ask@heritageacresmarket.com. Also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Heritage Acres Market. All the links mentioned in this podcast will be included in the description. See you again next week.